back to Awkward Quickies.
It's a quickie.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the D23 announcements. Now, we've been gone for the last month, so we're a little bit late on this. But we wanted to talk about the park updates that they announced at D23 and kind of our reflections on them because...
We're not blown away.
I mean, where's Mary Poppins, y'all?
It's kind of weird that they have been talking about these like park changes for a while, and I would say less than 5% actually come true.
That's generous. I feel like 5% generous. Look, we've been through this train many a times.
So many.
I remember them announcing, like I said, Mary Poppins Land was one of them.
I was excited for that.
Galaxy's Edge is a shell of what they announced.
Mm-hmm.
For those originals, they were supposed to be like droids roaming the land. They weren't sure if it was going to be the new series or the old series, and they made a huge mistake there.
We were supposed to get that really cool Epcot Center.
Most of the stuff from the Star Cruiser was supposed to be in Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
Like the dinner show, that was supposed to be in Galaxy's Edge. I mean, that just shows you kind of what they take and what they throw away.
And now Star Cruiser isn't even a thing.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with Star Cruise. They're going to do something because it's too much money just to sit out there and not do anything with. I don't know what that is, though. So this year they announced a bunch of stuff. A lot of stuff is stuff that we heard about 20 years ago. Almost 2000 they were announcing.
Yeah.
Specifically, like, we'll just jump right in, Villain's Land. Villain's Land, from my member berries, was definitely late 90s, early 2000s was the first time I heard about that.
Yeah.
Because it was
we talked about it.
It was the other exec who actually thought of the idea because he wanted to make it more adult for his kid because his kid wanted a little bit more of a scary thing. And that's when Villains started. And that was Eisner.
Yep.
Right? That was Eisner. So Eisner was the CEO at the time. And he hasn't been the CEO since early 2000.
And I think we talked about this when they announced Villains Night, too, back in 2018. I think they did Villains Night. And we kind of talked about, like, the possible addition of Villains Land again. It kind of was rumored, and they started talking.
But it's interesting because it's even watered down from what it was proposed to be. Like, they were supposed to get their own park. It was supposed to be their own gate. They were supposed to have their own castle. So instead of Cinderella's castle, it would have been Maleficent's castle. A bunch of rides. Now it's watered down to what, like 2 rides, a shop, and that's kind of going to be it.
Yeah, and then they're doing it, supposedly, I think they were talking about Tom Sawyer's Island. Or was that?
That's Cars Land. We'll get to that.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's Cars Land.
Stuff. Yeah.
This one was going where Muppets is, right? I can't remember where they thought it was. Where was it going?
I don't know. I don't think they've announced where inside Disney World. It's supposed to be in Disney World. So Muppets is in Studios, right? And they have the extension to Cars Land is going to be kind of in that area. It's supposed to be past the Big Thunder, but it seems like from the drawings that you can see like Haunted Mansion stuff, so they're thinking more Tom Sawyer Island.
Yeah.
Again, Disney hasn't been clear where they're going to put this because I think there's going to be a lot of pushback. And I'm in favor of getting rid of Tom Sawyer's Island. I liked it. It's a fun little attraction. But first off, it's really hard to get to. They close it super early. And they've closed all the restaurants and stuff there years ago.
Yeah.
So there's not much to do on Tom Sawyer's Island other than just kind of walk around and see the scenes.
Yeah, it used to be you could go out to Tom Sawyer's Island and have fried chicken and
have a whole
picnic out there.
Yeah.
And
that's gone. It's just, and most of the time,
for at least a decade, yeah.
And most of the time, half the island's closed. You don't you're not able to go into the fort area and stuff because they closed that really early in the day. You used to be able to go out there and get a paintbrush for a free fast pass. That's been gone for years. So there's a lot of stuff out there, and it's like it's just kind of sitting there.
It's done its thing.
And had Disney done something with it, I'm all for it. But it just kind of sits there, and it's kind of a waste of space.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I agree. It's one of the things I think I'm okay with them getting rid of.
So that's okay. Rivers of America, though, I don't know.
It's fun.
Yeah, that's it's not just fun though. It's also a people mover. A lot of people can get on it. A lot of people can ride it, and it's frees up space.
Yeah, it can absorb the crowds.
Like they're getting rid of all these like shows, and like Tom Sawyer Island, when it works, was also a people holder. So like when crowds were big, you could go there and it would move big bulks of people, and they could spend a decent amount of time there and get them out of the park so the other stuff can open up, so there can be less people riding in rides. They're getting rid of all of those things. And they're pushing it all into these ride queues that then don't work most of the time or break down.
Exactly. And I mean, they've needed a Cars Land because let's be honest, going to Cars Land at DCA is definitely a highlight. And if you haven't checked it out, it is 100% worth checking out. It is
So
such a fun ride.
so the next area is Cars Land. So we moved from Villains Land. It's not really clear what rides they're going to put in. They've kind of only announced 2, and that was it. But they didn't really specifically say what they were going to be. For Cars Land, it's not going to be the Cars ride in DCA,
Nope.
which is weird because the Cars ride in DCA is basically Test Track with an overlay on it. It's slightly different in a couple areas, but it's basically
It's a
Test
more,
track.
yeah, it's more an outdoor elaborate test track. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the tracks are pretty much similar, very, very similar. And so they're not going to do that though. They're going to do some other Cars ride, which hopefully it's not like Luigi's
Yeah.
Spinners or whatever, because those are just
Nobody needs that.
no one needs another ASS. You know what I mean?
Nope.
They don't need another ASS out there. They need something interesting.
Right.
And that's definitely taking the Tom Sawyer area. I'm pretty sure, just looking at the drawings and stuff that we've seen online for that exhibit.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. I definitely take it with a grain of salt because they have made so many promises over the last 6 or 7 years, and they have to do something.
Well, it kind of goes to the movies too. We're going to talk about movies in a different awkward chat, so definitely subscribe if you want to hear that. But it's like they announce these things to get their stock prices to go up slightly, and then they never deliver.
Yeah, and they have to do something to compete with Universal's Epic Universe that's going to be opening next year. I think it's reactionary and not proactive, and
Well, obviously, yeah.
no business is going to be sustainable if all you're doing is reactions versus being proactive.
And imagine you have Disney Imagineering, you have all these great IPs, you have all this Disney knowledge, and you're just reacting instead of being the innovators you used to be. That's the frustrating part for me. So a couple other lands we want to talk about. There's the Tropical America land, which is going to be an Animal Kingdom, which is an absolute joke to me. They're going to put the Encanto House in there.
Over where dinosaurs is.
My guess is the Encanto House is probably going to be a restaurant because they haven't really explained that that's a ride. They just said it's going to be there. And what's the easiest thing to do is a restaurant with a house, right?
Yeah, and I mean, there's ways you can make that cool, like they do on the cruise ships, where they make like your dining area very interactive. But again, we're talking about Disney Parks America. We're not talking about the cruise line, which is ran by a whole separate department.
Or even what they're doing in the
Overseas,
7 Seas.
yeah,
I mean,
so-
that place is freaking amazing.
You know, there's so much they could do and they could make it amazing. I just have no faith.
So I like Encanto. It's an okay movie. The songs are probably better than the movie is, in my opinion. I think that's kind of what sells that movie is that the songs are kind of catchy and they've caught on.
But the problem is there's not really any animals.
Right, exactly. That's what I was going to get to. So, and then the second one's Indy, right? So they're going to replace Dinosaur with Indy. And if you don't know, it is the exact same ride. It's just a different overlay. Now, we've never had the chance to ride Indy. We've seen the outside of it a bunch of times, but every time we go, it's either down or
The line is
literally
just
down.
longer than we want.
Well, no, every time we've gone, it's either been down for refurb or down. Like the
Down,
ride isn't
yeah.
working that day. So we have not had the chance to ride it. We've wanted to. Trust me, I've wanted to ride this ride a lot. And I just don't know. Like, okay, so it's okay. It's okay to replace dinosaurs. I love dinosaurs, so I'm with you if you're a dinosaur lover. I think it's a great ride. It was not being maintained.
No.
Most of the time, the dinosaur at the end didn't jump out at you. It just
Or
didn't
like
do
the
anything.
animals weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing.
There was the one that chomped the animal. The other animal was like, "Hung, hung, hung." There would be tons of times where he would just be sitting there like this, and it's like, oh, I think he's choking to death.
He's choking. He's choking.
So it had its own issues. It needed to be maintained, but that's a Disney specialty. But like Nacy said, both of those rides have nothing to do with animals.
Yep.
I mean, Indy is the farthest from animals, at least with Encanto. Well, no, she has flowers. I don't think there's anybody who's animal-based.
There's the cousin. He is the little cousin, and he opens the door and he can talk to animals.
Okay, so there's somebody who can at least talk to animals. You're right.
That's it. That's the only animal.
The rest of their powers aren't really animal-related. So it's like, okay, a decision was made to try to force something into a park that I don't think worked.
Okay.
I think keeping it like mythical or something probably would have been the best option. Now, was putting a carnival there in the first place a good idea? No, it wasn't Disney. That was you cheaping out.
That was a bad idea.
But is that better? I mean, at least it had dinosaur themed. Like, at least it was dinosaur themed.
Dinosaur, while extinct, they
Right.
were animals.
Animals. So another land, you talked about Cars Land. The other big one I feel like is going to, well, there's the new Avatar Land in DCA. That's kind of a quick overview. It'll be interesting. At least DCA's open later.
Yeah.
You know, like Disney World and Animal Kingdom have been closing so early that even when we were there, very few days we could get there after dark because it would already be closed. And the thing about Avatar Land is it's meant to be experienced in the dark. It's supposed to look like bioluminescence. It's supposed to be pretty
And they were really
and vibrant.
losing out on that the last few years we were in Orlando. You would go after dark the few times that it was open, and you were
And
like,
the paint was fading.
the paint is just not illuminating the way that it should.
So I think at DCA they won't have the Florida sun. So it should
Yeah.
last longer, which is a plus. And I do think they stay open later. And so they don't have to worry about animals. So that's kind of a benefit there for that.
Yeah.
Will it be good? I'm not going to hold my breath because they've been phoning in these lands, in my opinion, for the last few cycles. But we'll see when they come out. And then there's the other one, which is the Coco ride at DCA.
Coco. Mama Coco.
Mama Coco.
I
I'm
love
okay
the
with it.
movie Coco.
I'm okay with it. It'll be interesting to see. Hopefully it's not all screens. I'm tired of screens.
Yeah.
I prefer animatronics and a mixture of screens. I don't just want screens.
Yep.
Guardians was super disappointing because it's all screens. It had so much potential. They had like 20 some animatronics that were supposed to be in there. You got none. And you got screens. So when they announced Guardians, again, like we talked about earlier, it was supposed to be a ton of animatronics and really cool. And then when we finally got it, it was
over 5 years to build that ride too. So they haven't even broke ground on any of this stuff yet.
Yeah.
So let's pretend they broke ground tomorrow. You're still looking at a good 5 years before any of these promises that they made in 2024 come to fruition.
And again, where's Mary Poppins?
Yeah.
So like the last one, which I think is the most
Controversial.
is Monsters Inc. Land. And that's going to be
Where the Muppets are.
where the Muppets are, in studios.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call them. You can call them whatever you want, MGM. I still call them MGM, honestly.
Yeah.
But in studios.
Hollywood.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't know that we needed that.
First off, they're selling the original Muppets studios in California. So they're getting rid of that.
Yep.
There's a lot of people saying that people should buy it and put it into like a museum because that's Jim Henson. You know, that was Jim
Yeah.
Henson. He was brilliant. He was a genius. He created the Muppets. He created Sesame Street. He is
The Crystal.
Yeah, well, yeah, the Dark Crystal and stuff. But he's one of the, and he also did Farscape while his son did after he passed away. They created basically my childhood in the 80s and 90s was really solidly planted
Dinosaur.
with Muppets, you know, and with Sesame Street. So I love the Muppets and Sesame Street. We still went to the show, the 4D show, all the time when we were there. It was a quick stop typically when we were waiting for things in Galaxy's
Good
Edge.
cool off, yeah.
It was a nice area to cool off. Now, Pizza Rizzo's sucked. So if you wanted to redo that restaurant, I get it. Theming a restaurant after a rat was a bad decision in the first place. Let's be honest.
You could just go to New York City.
But there's actually a chef in the Muppets that you didn't use. I don't know why you don't use the chef guy. Right?
Because he's Italian too, so like that would be perfect.
Right,
I
and
think
at least
he's
he's a
Italian.
chef.
Maybe he's German. I don't know what
I mean, he's not a
actually-
good chef, but
No,
it
he's
would probably be better at
a-
Pizza. But it's clear that's where that's going. Now they've sort of like tried to hush it up. Like this isn't where Monsters Inc. Land goes, but from all the pictures and stuff,
Where
you
else
can
is
see
it gonna go?
Galaxy's Edge right behind it. The only other places they're talking about that Star Wars pavilion could be it, but I don't think that's big enough.
No.
And again, that theater is perfect to remove for a ride, so it's Disney cheap.
Yep.
And I think all of these are Disney cheap. When you think about what Disney's going to do, it's Disney cheap.
I mean, look at what they did with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railroad at Studios.
So we've rode the ride over at, is it DCA that has Monsters Inc. ride? I think
Disneyland.
I think it's in DCA though.
Disneyland, because it's over in Toontown.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. It's along that one walkway where there's the big buildings and it looks like California. That's where Monsters Inc. is.
Oh, Monsters Inc. I thought you were asking about Mickey and Minnie's. Sorry.
No, I'm asking about Monsters Inc.
Yeah,
what we're talking
Monsters
about.
Inc. is DCA.
Yeah, so it's in DCA. It's an okay ride. Now, my understanding is it's going to be more like the ride overseas because there's a Monsters Inc. ride overseas.
Which is cool because like you shoot you try to defeat the monsters and you like shoot them, so it's a little bit like Buzz Lightyear
Yeah, I mean,
meets.
I think it's supposed to be somewhere like in between those two because I don't
Okay.
think you have a shooter thing, at least from what I've seen.
Okay.
But the room with the doors is supposed to be really impressive. I will say we rode it. We enjoyed it. It's not a bad ride. It's not one of Disney's best, though.
No.
And it definitely, the only thing that's really spectacular is the door room.
Yeah.
The rest of the ride is like a generic dark ride, in my opinion.
It's just like a chill dark ride. Yeah.
So like that's what they're replacing it with. Okay. But again, we go back to what we talked about earlier is they're getting rid of these shows. Like at Studio, you don't have much to do there, right?
Nope.
So like the Frozen show is back open. The Beauty and the Beast, I think, is supposed to be back open, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
And the Little Mermaid one just reopened.
So you got like 3, maybe 4 shows. I might be missing one, so there may be 5. But then the rest is just like 4 or 5 rides.
Yep.
So like, where are you going to put that capacity of those people? What are they going to be doing? You take the Muppet Show out, you replace it with a ride that's probably going to break down a lot. Just looking at Disney's recent history, I mean, they reopened Splash Mountain as Tiana's, and it's breaking down all the time. It never really broke down back before they did the switchover. So like, what? How did they break it? Because the only time they would ever turn off was Thunder.
Yep.
And then as soon as the Thunder was like 10 minutes away, they'd open it back up.
Yeah, Splash never really went down.
Yeah, Splash was one of the most reliable rides. We didn't ride it till the end of the day, which typically we would actually plan because we didn't want to be wet. And that's probably what most people do too. But we would plan it out so it'd be the end of the day. It was never broken down when we got to it, though. It would always be there. It was a fun ride. Now it's always broken. So I can't imagine you're taking out space that's usable and can actually facilitate the overrunning because they're letting way too many people in the parks at times. And now they have nothing to do. And I also think that's why people feel like the parks are more filled lately, is because there's nothing to do there. I can't just sit and watch a show.
To go. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no shows to watch. And the shows they have, I like the Americas show in Walt Disney World. I like that show. And there's a few others that I like, but there's nothing that I go out of my way for. It's not like I go there to be like, gosh, I hope to see great times with Mr. Lincoln. Like
Beyonce.
Yeah, like there's just I don't know. I feel like Disney's making really bad decisions.
Yep.
And I want to repeat what we've said earlier too. I don't have any faith that any of these are actually going to open.
Nope. Just
so you know, we've done this Dog and Pony show. I was excited for the Mary Poppins because Nacy likes penguins, and so that meant more penguins in the park. So I know Nacy would like that, and then that just disappeared.
Yeah.
Like literally disappeared. They had it on maps overnight. It went away for one of the D23s. It came back, and they've never been on the park map again.
They've never talked about it. They've never brought it up, and it's one of those things that until like they have officially broken ground, and even then I'm gonna take it with a grain of salt that it's gonna, like how you were talking about Guardians. I just don't have any faith that they are going to do what they said they're going to do.
Yeah, I hope they do because they need to. Like Nacy's talked about earlier, they have some competition with Universal, and thank you Universal for bringing it because
it needed to be brung.
It ups the game because Disney has been lazy, has been excluding people,
raising prices
nonstop.
There's no value.
I guarantee you this is going to come out in October. I guarantee you either the prices have just went up or they'll be going up in October because they always do.
Yeah.
And it's like they're having horrible attendance numbers, but yet they're going to raise prices.
There's just no value in going to Disney anymore. You used to get free fast passes, you used to get free airport transportation to your hotel, you got free parking, you got extra magic hours.
They were friendly to those with disabilities.
You don't get anything anymore.
Yeah, you don't get any of that anymore.
So
now you're lucky they even clean your bedroom in the hotels, like.
Something else has to happen. There's always going to be the stands and the diehards that doesn't matter what Disney does, they're going to continue to stand for Disney. And whatever, if that's how you feel, go right ahead. But I think there are a lot of us who genuinely love Disney for what it was, what it represented, and they have very much lost their way.
Yeah, one thing I want to say before we get into, if you like Disney and you like these changes, we don't have any negative feelings towards you. Cool. It's just we're sort of talking about our concerns about it and our concerns that have been proven over time and time again. So if you like it, we're not hating on you.
No.
And if you're looking forward to something, let us know in the show notes below. Definitely let us know on Spotify. If you watch us on Spotify, there's a whole comment section now where you can comment. We're always interested in kind of what your takes are. What are you looking forward to? Is there something they gotten rid of in the past that you were looking forward to and now you don't
Was there
have
a
the
promise
opportunity?
that they made that they fell through on that you were just devastated?
Yeah. I mean, are you sad that, Galaxy's Edge doesn't have wandering droids? Because that really hurt me. I was really looking forward to like droid interactions in Galaxy's Edge.
I mean, I got my build your own droid just for...
Yeah, but I would want to see like an R2 unit or something wandering, or one of those like assassin droids wandering around. That'd be super cool to like meet a actual droid hanging out there. So if you like this, please take a moment and sub to the channel. We're trying to get to 100 fans.
Yeah.
So that we can go live someday.
So yeah, we thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll have another quickie coming out soon, and be on the lookout for the actual long form podcast, Awkward Shots.
Because if you can't do it well, do it quickly.